kill her. I want her husband to be mine.
Are you ready to do this?
Yes, I am ready.
Everyone thought she was lucky, married to a rich man, living in a mansion. Nobody knew she used juju to steal him from her best friend. Nobody knew she couldn't escape. This is how jealousy became a death sentence. Lillian and Linda weren't twins by blood, but if you saw them together, you'd swear they shared the same womb. They finished each other's sentences. They laughed the same jokes before the punchline. They dreamed the same dreams. White nursing uniforms, helping the sick, changing lives together. People in their village didn't just call them best friends. They called them the twin souls. But here's the thing about mirrors. Sometimes, when you stare too long into one, you start to hate the reflection staring back. This is the story of two girls who grew up as one, until jealousy crept in like poison, until one friend wanted everything the other had, until love became a weapon, and until a friendship died, taking one of them with it. If you've ever trusted someone completely, if you've ever felt the sting of betrayal from someone you called family, if you've ever wondered how far jealousy can push a human heart, then stay with me. Because what you're about to hear isn't just a story, it's a warning. Before we begin, I need you to do something for me. Take a deep breath. Because this story, it's heavy. It's the kind that sits in your chest long after it's over. It's the kind that makes you look at your closest friends and wonder, do they really love me? Or are they waiting for their chance? Let me take you back to where it all began. To a small town in Nigeria. To two little girls in matching school uniforms. To a friendship that everyone thought would last forever. Lillian and Linda met when they were 7 years old. It was the first day of primary school at St. Mary's Academy, a small school with peeling paint and wooden desks that wobbled when you wrote. Lillian was sitting alone under the big mango tree during break time, eating her lunch quietly. Linda walked up to her, held out half of her meat pie, and said, "You look like me. We should be friends." And just like that, a bond was born. They weren't just friends. They became everything to each other. They went to the same school. They attended the same church, sitting together every Sunday in their matching Ankara dresses, singing hymns side by side. Their mothers were friends too, but not like them. The mothers were cordial, polite, neighborly. But Lillian and Linda, they were inseparable. They studied together, cried together, laughed until their stomachs hurt. They shared secrets that no one else knew. Lillian told Linda about her father's drinking problem. Linda told Lillian about her mother's struggles to pay school fees. They held each other's pain like it was their own. And they had the same dream. We're going to be nurses together. We'll work in the same hospital. We'll save lives. We'll grow old together. People in the village couldn't tell them apart, not physically, but spiritually. "Are you sure they're not twins?" neighbors would ask their mothers. "Different families, same spirit," the mothers would reply, smiling. But what nobody knew, what nobody could have known, was that one day that same spirit would split. And when it did, it would destroy everything. The years passed quickly. By the time they finished secondary school, Lillian and Linda were still dreaming of nursing school together. They had filled out applications. They had studied for entrance exams. They had prayed together every night. God, let us pass. Let us go together. Let this dream come true. But life had other plans. The results came back. Both of them passed the entrance exams. Both of them got admission letters. But neither of them had the money to go. Lillian's father had drunk away most of the family savings. Linda's mother was barely surviving as a petty trader in the market. The dream of nursing school crumbled like dry clay in their hands. They cried together that night, sitting on the steps outside Linda's small house, holding hands, staring at the stars. "What do we do now?" Linda whispered. "We survive," Lillian said, squeezing her friend's hand. "We always find another way." And so they did. But they went in different directions. Lillian decided to learn makeup artistry. There was a woman in the next town who was known for bridal makeup, transforming brides into queens on their wedding days. Lillian approached her, begged for an apprenticeship, and was accepted. For 2 years, Lillian learned. She learned how to blend foundation until skin looked airbrushed. She learned how to contour cheekbones and highlight brow bones. She learned how to make eyes tell stories with just the right shade of shadow. She was talented. No, she was gifted. Meanwhile, Linda took a different path. She became a part-time teacher at a small private school, teaching primary school children mathematics and English for a salary that barely covered her transport and feeding. The job was exhausting. She woke up at 5 a.m., prepared lessons, taught all day, and came home too tired to dream. But she did it because it was honest work, because it kept her afloat, because she believed better days were coming. The two friends still saw each other regularly. They would meet on Sundays after church, sitting under that same mango tree where they first became friends, and talk about life. "How's the makeup going?" Linda would ask.
That's messy. Lilan, how was work? We thank God, oh. What about yours?
"Good, slow, but good. I'm getting clients here and there." "And teaching?" "Tiring, but I'm managing." They were still close, still best friends, still twin souls. But something was shifting. Something quiet, something subtle. Linda was starting to notice things.
Everything changed for Lillian one Saturday afternoon. She had been hired to do makeup for a bride at a big society wedding, the kind where politicians and businessmen attended, where champagne flowed and photographers captured every moment. Lillian arrived early, set up her tools, and went to work. She transformed the bride. When the bride looked in the mirror, she cried, not from sadness, but from joy. "I've never looked this beautiful," she whispered. The wedding was a spectacle, and everyone wanted to know, who did the bride's makeup? By the end of the reception, Lillian had collected over 20 business cards. Her phone didn't stop ringing for weeks. Brides-to-be, event planners, women preparing for milestone birthdays. Lillian's calendar filled up. She started charging higher rates. She started getting booked months in advance. She started making real money. And through it all, she stayed humble. She would call Linda every week, updating her. "Linda, I just finished a bride today. The family tipped me extra. Can you imagine?" Linda would laugh and say, "That's amazing. You deserve it, my sister." But inside, something was stirring. A small voice. A whisper. Why her and not me? Then came Lucas. Lucas attended one of the weddings where Lillian did the makeup. He wasn't a guest. He was the bride's cousin, a successful businessman who owned a construction company and drove expensive cars. Tall, handsome, well-dressed, confident. The kind of man every woman noticed when he walked into a room. He noticed Lillian, too. Not just her beauty, but her focus, her professionalism, the way she transformed the bride with such care and precision. After the wedding, he approached her. "You're incredibly talented," he said, handing her his card. "If you ever need anything, business advice, connections, call me." Lillian smiled politely, thanked him, and thought nothing of it. But Lucas thought about her. He started showing up at events where he knew she'd be working. He'd bring her water when she looked tired. He'd compliment her work. He'd ask her about her dreams. Slowly, carefully, he won her over. And Lillian, who had spent years working hard and dreaming alone, found herself falling for him. When Lillian finally told Linda about Lucas, she screamed with excitement. "You have a boyfriend, and you're just telling me now?" They were sitting in Lillian's small apartment, eating fried rice and chicken. "I wanted to be sure first," she said, blushing. "But yes, his name is Lucas. He's wonderful, Linda. He treats me like I matter." Linda hugged her tight. "I'm so happy for you. When do I meet him?" A week later, Lillian arranged a meeting. They met at a small restaurant. Lillian, Lucas, and Linda. Lillian introduced them proudly. "Lucas, this is Linda, my best friend, my sister, the person I trust most in the world." Lucas smiled warmly, shook Linda's hand, and said, "Any friend of Lillian's is a friend of mine. She talks about you all the time." Linda smiled back, but her heart did something strange. It skipped, not from happiness, from something else, something she didn't yet understand. Because Lucas wasn't just handsome. He was polished, wealthy, the kind of man who looked like he belonged in magazines. And as the evening went on, as she watched how he looked at Lillian, how he held her hand, how he laughed at her jokes, Linda felt something dark creep into her chest. Why does she get him? What does she have that I don't? She pushed the thoughts away. She smiled, she laughed, she played the supportive friend. But the seed was planted. 6 months later, Lucas proposed. He planned it meticulously, renting out an entire rooftop restaurant, filling it with roses and candles, hiring a violinist to play Lillian's favorite songs. He invited close friends and family, including Linda. When Lillian arrived, she was stunned. "Lucas, what is all this?" He took her hand, got down on one knee, and said words that made her cry. "Lillian, you've brought light into my life. You've shown me what it means to love someone not for what they can give you, but for who they are. Will you marry me?" Through tears, Lillian said, "Yes, yes, 1,000 times yes." Everyone cheered. Everyone hugged her. Everyone celebrated. Except Linda. Linda clapped. Linda smiled. Linda hugged her friend. But inside, she was breaking. Not because she wasn't happy for Lillian, but because she had secretly hoped, foolishly, desperately hoped, that Lucas might propose to both of them somehow, that maybe he had a brother or a friend or something, that maybe this night would change her life too. But it didn't. The spotlight was entirely on Lillian, and Linda went home that night feeling invisible. Linda couldn't sleep that night. She lay in her small room, so different from the luxury Lucas would provide Lillian, and stared at the ceiling. What does she have that I don't? We grew up together, same background, same struggles.
What does
Why does
Lillian
she
have that I
get the
don't
rich
have?
man, the
Is it beauty,
proposal,
shit,
the
nyasha?
perfect life? Why am I still teaching for peanuts while she's about to live in a mansion? The thoughts grew louder, more insistent, more venomous. She started comparing everything. Lillian was pretty, but so was she. Lillian was talented, but she had skills too. Lillian was kind, but hadn't she always been the loyal friend? So why her? Why not me? And slowly, dangerously, Linda's love for her friend began to curdle into something ugly. Jealousy. The kind that doesn't announce itself. The kind that disguises itself as concern. The kind that waits for the perfect moment to strike. Lillian and Lucas got married 3 months later. It was a beautiful wedding, lavish but tasteful, filled with joy and music and dancing. Linda was the maid of honor. She stood beside her friend, held her bouquet, smiled for the cameras. But inside, she felt like she was attending a funeral. Her funeral. After the wedding, Lillian moved into Lucas's mansion, a sprawling house with high ceilings, marble floors, and a swimming pool that sparkled in the sunlight. She called Linda the first week. "You have to come visit. The house is huge. I keep getting lost." Linda visited, and her jealousy deepened. Because this wasn't just a house. This was a palace. Lucas had maids, a chef, a driver. Lillian no longer worked. Lucas had insisted. "I want my wife to rest. You've worked hard enough," he'd told her. To the outside world, it looked perfect. But what Linda didn't know, what Lillian hid behind her makeup and smiles, was that Lucas had another side, a darker side. It started small, a raised voice when dinner wasn't ready on time, a harsh word when Lillian forgot something he'd asked for. Then it escalated. One night, Lucas came home drunk. He accused Lillian of flirting with a man at church, a ridiculous accusation based on nothing but his insecurity and alcohol. When she tried to defend herself, he slapped her. The sound echoed through the house. Lillian stood there, stunned, her cheek burning. Lucas immediately sobered up, his eyes filling with regret. "Baby, I'm so sorry. I don't know what came over me. Please forgive me." He bought her a designer bag the next day, expensive jewelry, as if gifts could erase the pain. And Lillian, like so many women before her, convinced herself it was a one-time thing. But it wasn't. It happened again, and again, each time followed by apologies, tears, and expensive gifts. Lillian learned to cover the bruises with makeup, the same makeup that had brought her success, now used to hide her shame. She didn't tell anyone, not her mother, not her friends, and especially not Linda. Because how do you tell someone who envies your life that your life is a nightmare? Meanwhile, Linda made a decision. She quit her teaching job. "I need to do something that
exposes me to more people, better people, richer people," she told herself. At first, she considered learning makeup, following in Lillian's footsteps. But she stopped herself. That would be too obvious, too suspicious. So instead, she started frying akata, bean cakes, by the roadside. She set up a small stand in a busy area, waking up at 4 a.m. to prepare, selling until evening. But this wasn't just about selling akata. This was about being seen. Linda started dressing provocatively. Tight tops, short skirts, makeup that made men's heads turn. She wanted to attract wealthy men. Men like Lucas. But the men who stopped at her stand were mostly area boys, Okada riders, young men with empty pockets and empty promises. Still, her Okada became popular. People loved her cooking. But Linda didn't care about that. She wanted what Lillian had, and she would do anything to get it. Linda started visiting Lillian regularly, always bringing Okada as a gift. "I know how much you and Lucas love Okada, so I brought you some."
Thank you. This is so kind
Lillian
of you.
would hug her, grateful. Lucas would grab the Okada immediately, eating it with joy. "Linda, you make the best Okada, better than my mother's." Linda would smile, but inside she was calculating. She studied Lucas, the way he laughed, the way he moved, the way he looked at Lillian. She started dressing even more provocatively when visiting.
Tops, tight jeans, perfume that lingered. She hoped Lucas would notice. She hoped he would look at her the way he looked at Lillian. But Lucas, for all his faults, remained loyal in that regard. He treated Linda with respect, as Lillian's friend, nothing more. And that drove Linda crazy. Why won't he look at me? Why won't he see that I could love him better? Why won't he choose me? Linda reached her breaking point one Sunday evening. She had visited Lillian again, and as she left the mansion, walking past the luxury cars, the manicured gardens, the life she desperately wanted, something inside her snapped. I deserve this more than she does. She doesn't even appreciate what she has. If I were Lucas's wife, I would cherish him. I would make him happy. I would be better. That night, Linda made a decision that would cost her everything. She was going to take Lucas, by any means necessary. Linda had heard stories about the shrine on the outskirts of town, the old Babalawo who lived there, a man who could make impossible things possible, for a price. She went there on a Tuesday morning when the sun was barely up and the world was still quiet. The shrine smelled of herbs, incense, and something darker. The Babalawo was ancient, his skin like weathered leather, his eyes sharp and knowing. "What do you want, child?" he asked in a voice that sounded like gravel. I swallowed hard. "I want my friend's husband." The old man didn't look surprised. "You want to steal another woman's man?" "No, I want what should have been mine. I love him. I deserve him more than she does." The Babalawo studied her for a long moment. "This kind of charm is powerful, but it comes with a price. I'll pay anything. Not money, child, a spiritual price. Once you are bound to this man, you cannot leave him, no matter what he does to you, no matter how much you suffer. If you try to leave, you will die." Linda hesitated only for a moment. Then she said, "I accept." The Babalawo took her money, more than she had ever spent on anything. He performed the ritual in front of her. 2 lizards, one male, one female, tied together with red cloth. Incantations spoken in a language she didn't understand. A heavy key, rusted and ancient, bound to the lizards. When he was finished, he looked at her with something close to pity. "It is done. He will call for you. But remember, once you enter that house as his woman, you cannot leave. This is your choice." Linda nodded, her heart pounding. The Babalawo walked to the edge of a nearby river and threw the tied lizards and the key into the dark water. The ripples spread outward, and Linda's fate was sealed. 3 days after the ritual, Linda's phone rang. Unknown number. She answered. "Linda, it's Lucas." Her heart stopped. "Lucas, is everything okay? Is Lillian?" "Lillian is fine." "Well, no. Actually, we're having problems. Can you come over tonight? I need someone to talk to. Someone I trust." Her hands trembled. "Of course. What time?" "Come around 8 p.m. When she hung up, she couldn't believe it. It worked. Oh my God, it actually worked. She spent hours getting ready. She showered, oiled her skin until it glowed, put on her best dress, a short red number that hugged every curve. She packed a bag with a kara just in case, and at 7:45 p.m., she headed for the mansion.
When Linda arrived, the mansion was dark, except for a few lights. Lucas opened the door himself. No maids, no chef. Just him. He looked disheveled, tired, angry. "Where's Lillian?" Linda asked, stepping inside. "I sent her away, told her to leave. I'm done with her." Linda's heart raced. "What? Why?" "She's been ungrateful, disrespectful. I give her everything and it's never enough. I need someone who appreciates me, Linda. Someone who understands me." He stepped closer. Too close. Linda could smell the alcohol on his breath. "You've always been good to me, always kind, always there." His hand touched her arm. Linda should have felt victorious. But something felt wrong. His eyes weren't filled with love. They were filled with something darker. Hunger. "Lucas, maybe we should talk first." "I don't want to talk." He pulled her closer, his lips crashing onto hers. Linda kissed him back, but it wasn't how she'd imagined. It was rough, urgent, almost violent. He led her to the bedroom, the same bedroom he shared with Lillian, and what happened next was everything Linda had fantasized about, but also nothing like she'd imagined. The room was dimly lit, the sheets soft and expensive beneath her. Lucas's touch was intense, almost desperate, as if he were trying to erase Lillian from his mind by replacing her with Linda. There was no tenderness, no whispered affections, just raw need. Linda had dreamed of this moment for months, imagined being in Lucas's arms, feeling wanted, feeling chosen. But now that it was happening, it felt wrong. His hands were too rough, his kisses too demanding. He didn't ask if she was comfortable, didn't check if she was okay. He took what he wanted, and Linda let him, because this was the price of her wish. Afterward, he rolled over and fell asleep immediately. Linda lay awake, staring at the ceiling, her body sore, her mind racing. This is what I wanted. This is what I prayed for. But the victory felt hollow, empty. Still, she told herself it would get better. She told herself that once they were together officially, once Lillian was truly gone, Lucas would be different. He would be the man she'd imagined. But deep down, she already knew the truth. She had made a terrible mistake. The morning after, reality hits. Linda woke up to shouting, "What the hell are you still doing in bed at 7 a.m.? Where's my breakfast?" She jolted awake, disoriented. Lucas was standing over her, fully dressed, eyes blazing with anger. I didn't know you wanted... You're in my house now. You need to learn how things work. Get up and make me food, now." She scrambled out of bed, wrapping a sheet around herself. I'm sorry, I didn't... Stop apologizing and move." She rushed to the kitchen, her hands shaking. This wasn't how it was supposed to be. Where was the romance?
The affection. Where was the man who used to be gentle with Lillian? As she fungled with pots and pans, trying to prepare something, Lucas appeared in the doorway. And another thing, don't ever sleep in late again. I don't care how tired you are. You're here to serve me. Understand? Linda nodded, tears stinging her eyes. But she didn't cry. Not yet. Because she had fought too hard for this. She had paid too much. And whether she liked it or not, she was trapped. The weeks that followed, a nightmare disguised as a dream. Linda moved into the mansion officially. Lucas had indeed kicked Lillian out, just as the charm promised. Lillian had packed her things in tears, confused and heartbroken, and left without a fight. Linda took her place. But the dream life she'd imagined turned into a waking nightmare. Lucas was controlling. He dictated what she wore, who she spoke to, where she went. He didn't let her fry akara anymore. You're my woman now. You don't need to work. You're here to take care of me. But taking care of him meant being available whenever he wanted, cooking, cleaning, satisfying his needs without question. And the beatings started. The first time, it was because she burned his rice. He slapped her across the face, and she fell to the floor, stunned. Don't ever serve me garbage again. He walked away as if nothing happened. Linda touched her cheek, feeling the sting, the heat. And for the first time, she understood what Lillian had endured. Oh God, he did this to her too. But she couldn't leave, not just because she had nowhere to go, but because the charm wouldn't let her. The pregnancy, chains tightening. 2 months later, Linda discovered she was pregnant. When she told Lucas, he smiled, genuinely smiled, for the first time in weeks. Good. Now you're really mine. They got married quickly, a small, quiet ceremony at the registry. No celebration, no guests, no joy. Just paperwork that bound them legally. Linda became Mrs. Linda Lucas, but the title felt like a prison sentence.
While Linda descended into hell, Lillian was rising from the ashes. After Lucas threw her out, Lillian went back to her old apartment, the small one-bedroom flat she'd lived in before marriage. She cried for days. Not because she missed Lucas. She'd been planning to leave him anyway, terrified but determined, but because she felt like a failure. But then, something shifted. She picked up her makeup brushes again, called her old clients, told them she was back. And they welcomed her with open arms. Thank God, we've been waiting for you. Within weeks, Lillian's calendar was full again. She was booked solid, weddings, photo shoots, events. Her skills had only improved, and word spread fast. She started making more money than she ever had before. And more importantly, she started healing. She made new friends, genuine ones. She laughed again. She remembered who she was before Lucas. The news. Lillian's new love. 6 months after her divorce, Lillian met someone new. His name was David. He was a businessman based overseas, but visiting Nigeria for work. They met at a wedding where Lillian was doing the makeup. David was the groom's business partner. He watched her work with quiet admiration. Afterward, he approached her. You're incredibly talented, but more than that, you have this light about you. Lillian smiled, shy but genuine. Thank you. They exchanged numbers, and slowly, carefully, they began talking. David was everything Lucas wasn't. Patient, kind, respectful. He listened when she spoke. He asked about her dreams, her fears, her past. When she finally told him about Lucas, the abuse, the pain, he didn't judge her. He just held her hand and said, "You're so strong, and you deserve so much better." They fell in love. Real love. The kind built on trust, not control. The kind that heals instead of wounds. The proposal. Full circle. 8 months after his divorce, David proposed. Not with fanfare or spectacle, just the two of them on a quiet beach at sunset, waves crashing softly in the background. "Lillian, I want to spend my life making you happy. Will you marry me?" She said yes, and this time her joy was pure, untainted by fear or doubt. The wedding was planned for 3 months later, a small, intimate ceremony before they moved to David's base overseas. The news spread quickly through their small town. "Did you hear? Lillian is getting married again, and he's rich, and he treats her like a queen." The news reached Linda. When Linda heard that Lillian was getting married, and not just married, but happy, thriving, loved, something broke inside her. She was sitting in the mansion, pregnant and bruised. Lucas had hit her again the night before for talking back, when her phone buzzed with the gossip. She stared at the message for a long time, and for the first time since the ritual, the fog lifted. She realized what she had done. I didn't hurt Lillian. I hurt myself. I didn't steal her life. I threw mine away. The charm hadn't bound Lillian and Lucas. It had bound her to him. Lillian was free, but Linda was trapped. In a marriage she couldn't escape. With a man who would never love her. Carrying a child who would grow up in a house filled with violence. And the worst part? She had lost her best friend. The one person who had truly loved her. The one person who would have helped her, supported her, been there for her. Linda had destroyed that friendship with her own hands. And now, she had nothing. The confession. Too late for redemption. Linda made a decision. She had to tell Lillian the truth. She had to confess. Maybe, just maybe, if she begged for forgiveness, Lillian would help her find a way out. One afternoon, while Lucas was at work, Linda took a taxi to Lillian's apartment. She knocked on the door, her heart pounding. Lillian opened it. For a moment, they just stared at each other. Lillian looked beautiful, glowing, healthy, happy. Linda looked broken, swollen belly, fading bruises on her arms, eyes red from crying. "Linda, what are you doing here?" "I need to talk to you, please." Lillian hesitated, then stepped aside. They sat in the small living room, an ocean of silence between them. Finally, Linda spoke. "I did something terrible, Lillian. Something unforgivable." And she told her everything. The jealousy, the shrine, the ritual, the charm that stole Lucas and trapped her. By the time she finished, she was sobbing. "I'm so sorry. I was so stupid, so selfish. I thought I wanted your life, but I didn't understand what I was doing. Please, Lillian, please forgive me. Please help me." Lillian sat quietly, her face unreadable. When she finally spoke, her voice was calm but firm. "I forgive you, Linda." Linda shot her head up, hope flooding her eyes. "You do?" "Yes. Not because you deserve it, but because I deserve peace, and holding on to anger would only hurt me.
She stood up, signaling the conversation was over. But forgiveness doesn't mean we can be friends again. What you did, it broke something between us that can't be fixed. I hope you find a way out of the life you chose, but I can't help you. You have to save yourself. Linda left that apartment in tears, not because Lillian refused to help her, but because she finally understood what she had lost. Climax. The final days, a soul unraveling. Linda returned to the mansion that evening, her heart heavier than it had ever been. Lucas was home early, drunk as usual. "Where have you been?" he snarled the moment she walked through the door. "I went to see a friend. Without my permission?" He grabbed her arm, his fingers digging into her flesh. Linda winced, but didn't resist. She had learned that resistance only made it worse. "I'm sorry. It won't happen again." He shoved her away. "Damn right it won't. Get in the kitchen and fix me something to eat, and make it quick. I have people coming over tonight." Linda walked to the kitchen on autopilot, her mind elsewhere. She touched her growing belly, 5 months now. What kind of life am I bringing this child into this? What kind of mother chooses this? But the Babalawo's words echoed in her mind like a death sentence. "Once you are bound to this man, you cannot leave him. If you try, you will die." She was trapped. Spiritually, physically, emotionally. There was no escape. The village talk, when secrets become public. News travels fast in small towns, and somehow, whether through loose lips at the market or whispers at church, the story of what Linda had done began to spread. Someone had seen her entering the shrine. Someone else had noticed how suddenly Lucas turned against Lillian. Someone connected the dots, and soon the entire village was talking. "Did you hear about Linda, the one they called Lillian's twin? She went to a Babalawo, used juju to steal her best friend's husband. Chai, jealousy is a terrible thing. And now look at her, pregnant and miserable. That's what she gets. They say Lillian has moved on, getting married to a fine man who treats her well, while Linda is stuck with a man who beats her. Nah, that is karma." The gossip reached both families. Linda's mother was devastated, ashamed, heartbroken, unable to show her face in public. Lillian's mother felt vindicated, but sad. The two mothers, who had been friends
In that
once,
polite, neighborly way, stopped speaking entirely. The mothers became enemies because of what their daughters had done to each other. Lillian's wedding day arrived like sunshine after a storm. It was beautiful, not extravagant, but deeply meaningful. She wore a simple white dress that made her glow. David wore a tailored suit and couldn't stop smiling. They said their vows in a small chapel, surrounded by people who genuinely loved them. No pretense, no performance, just truth. After the ceremony, they had a small reception. Good food, music, laughter. Lillian danced with David, her head on his shoulder, finally feeling safe, finally feeling free. One of her new friends asked, "Are you happy?" Lillian smiled, a real smile, one that reached her eyes. "Yes, for the first time in years, I'm truly happy." A week later, Lillian and David left Nigeria. They boarded a plane to start their new life overseas, a fresh beginning in a place with no painful memories, no haunted history. As the plane lifted off,
Lillian looked out the window at the land below growing smaller and smaller. She whispered a quiet prayer. "Thank you for saving me. Thank you for showing me I deserved better. Thank you for freedom." She didn't think about Lucas. She didn't think about the mansion or the beatings or the years she lost. And she especially didn't think about Linda. That chapter was closed forever. Meanwhile, back in the mansion, Linda was drowning. The beatings continued. Lucas had no patience for her pregnancy discomforts. When she complained about morning sickness, he called her weak. When she asked him to help with house chores because her back hurt, he laughed. "You think being pregnant gives you an excuse to be lazy?" The mental abuse was worse than the physical. He compared her to Lillian constantly. "Lillian never complained like this. Lillian kept this house spotless. Lillian knew how to keep me satisfied." Each comparison was a knife to Linda's heart, because she had destroyed her friendship, her integrity, her soul, for a man who didn't even want her. He just wanted someone, anyone, and she had been desperate enough to fill that role. The night of desperation, a dark decision. One night, after a particularly brutal fight where Lucas had pushed her so hard she fell and nearly hurt the baby, Linda sat alone in the bathroom. She stared at herself in the mirror. Her face was swollen from crying. Her eyes were hollow. She didn't recognize the woman looking back at her. Who am I? What have I become? She thought about the Babalawo's warning. If you try to leave, you will die. For the first time, she didn't care. Maybe death is better than this. Maybe death is the only escape. She thought about her unborn child. I can't bring a baby into this hell. I can't let my child grow up watching this man beat me. I can't let this curse pass to the next generation. And in that moment of absolute despair, Linda made her decision. The final act, the ultimate price. The next morning, Lucas left early for a business trip. He didn't say goodbye, didn't kiss her, just barked orders about what he expected done by the time he returned. Linda waited until she heard his car drive away. Then she moved with eerie calm. She cleaned the house one last time. Not because Lucas demanded it, but because something in her wanted to leave things orderly. She wrote 3 letters. One to her mother. "I'm sorry for bringing shame to our family. I'm sorry for the choices I made. Please forgive me." One to Lillian. "You were the best friend I ever had. I destroyed that with my own hands. You deserved better. I hope you're happy. You deserve all the happiness in the world." And one to her unborn child. "I'm sorry I wasn't strong enough to give you a good life. I'm sorry I chose this curse. Forgive me." She placed the letters on the dining table. Then she walked to the bedroom. She took the bed sheets, the expensive ones Lucas was so proud of, and tied them together, creating a rope. Her hands were steady. Her mind was quiet for the first time in months. She climbed onto a chair, secured the makeshift rope to the ceiling beam, and made a noose. She slipped it around her neck. For a moment, she hesitated. Images flashed through her mind. Her and Lillian as children, laughing under the mango tree. Her mother braiding her hair. The dream of becoming a nurse. The life she could have had. Then she thought of Lucas. The beatings.
the humiliation, the prison of her own making. She stepped off the chair. Lucas returned home 2 days later. The maids hadn't been by. He'd told them not to come while he was away. When he opened the bedroom door, he found her, hanging, still, gone. The police came. The coroner confirmed it. Suicide. They found the letters. The whole story came out. The aftermath. A village in shock. The village was rocked by Linda's death. Some said it was karma. Others said it was tragedy. The Babalawo, when questioned by police, though no charges could be proven, simply shook his head. She was warned. The charm does not lie. She chose to bind herself. She chose to break it, and she paid the price. Linda's mother collapsed at the funeral, wailing, inconsolable. "My daughter, my only daughter, what did I do to deserve this?" No one came to comfort her, because everyone knew what Linda had done. And while they pitied her death, they couldn't forget her betrayal. Lucas's guilt, a man haunted. Lucas didn't attend the funeral, but he couldn't escape what he'd done. Late at night, alone in the mansion that now felt like a tomb, he thought about both women. Lillian, who he'd beaten and broken until she became a shell of herself, and Linda, who he'd used and discarded until she saw death as freedom. He poured himself another drink, then another, trying to drown the guilt. But it wouldn't drown. Because deep down, Lucas knew the truth. He was a monster. And monsters don't get happy endings.
Lillian was in her new home overseas, arranging furniture with David, when her phone rang. It was her mother. "Lillian, I have to tell you something. It's about Linda." Lillian's heart stopped. "What happened?" She's gone, my daughter. She took her own life." The phone nearly slipped from Lillian's hand. "What? When? How?" Her mother explained everything. The hanging, the letters, the shame that had consumed Linda. When the call ended, Lillian sat in silence for a long time. David came and sat beside her, holding her hand. "Are you okay?" Lillian shook her head slowly. "I don't know what I feel. She betrayed me. She tried to destroy my life. But she was my friend once, my best friend, and now she's gone." Tears fell, but they weren't tears of anger. They were tears of grief for the friendship that died long before Linda did, for the girl she used to know, for the waste of a life consumed by jealousy. "I forgave her, but I couldn't save her. She had to save herself, and she chose not to." David pulled her close. "You did what you could. This wasn't your fault." Lillian nodded, but the weight would stay with her for a long time.
So let me ask you something. Have you ever looked at someone's life and thought, why them and not me? Have you ever felt that gnawing envy, the kind that keeps you up at night, that makes you compare every success, every blessing, every moment of joy? Have you ever wanted what someone else had so badly that you forgot to build your own life?
Linda's story is a warning, not about dark magic or Babalawo shrines, but about what happens when jealousy takes root in your heart. Jealousy doesn't just destroy the person you envy, it destroys you. It blinds you to your own blessings. It makes you covet lives you don't truly understand. It convinces you that someone else's happiness is the reason for your unhappiness. But here's the truth. Lillian wasn't Linda's enemy. Lillian's success wasn't stolen from Linda. They both had the same starting point: poverty, struggle, broken dreams. But they responded differently. Lillian worked, built, persevered. Linda compared, envied, coveted. And in the end, Linda didn't take Lillian's life. She destroyed her own. The truth about what we don't see. Linda envied Lillian's marriage to Lucas. She saw the mansion, the cars, the money, the status. She didn't see the bruises hidden under makeup. She didn't see the tears cried in silence. She didn't see the prison disguised as paradise. And that's the thing about jealousy. It makes you chase illusions. It makes you want the Instagram version of someone's life while ignoring the reality. It makes you destroy yourself trying to get something that was never worth having in the first place. If Linda had known what Lillian was truly going through, would she still have wanted that life? If Linda had focused on her own path, finished her education, built her Akata business properly, waited for her own love story, where would she be now? Alive, free, maybe not wealthy, but herself. Lillian's choice to forgive Linda wasn't about Linda. It was about Lillian. She forgave because she understood something crucial. Holding on to anger is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die. Forgiveness doesn't mean what happened was okay. It doesn't mean you have to reconcile. It doesn't mean you forget. Forgiveness means you release the weight. You stop letting that person live rent-free in your heart. You choose peace over revenge. Lillian forgave Linda, and that forgiveness freed her to move forward, to love David fully, to build a new life without the shadow of bitterness. But Linda couldn't forgive herself, and that's what killed her. A message to anyone struggling with jealousy. If you're watching this and you've ever felt jealous of someone, stop, breathe, and ask yourself, am I building my own life, or am I too busy watching theirs? Am I watering my own garden, or am I counting the flowers in someone else's? Am I grateful for what I have, or am I bitter about what I don't? Listen to me. Your life is not a competition. Your journey is not a race. Someone else's success does not mean your failure. Someone else's blessing does not mean your curse. There is enough room in this world for everyone to win. But you have to focus on your lane, run your race, build your life. Stop trying to be someone else. Stop trying to have someone else's life, because the grass isn't greener on the other side. The grass is greener where you water it. Lillian and Linda started the same, but they ended differently. One chose hard work, patience, and faith. The other chose shortcuts, envy, and dark paths. One is alive, thriving, loved. The other is gone, a cautionary tale whispered in a village that won't forget. And the saddest part? It didn't have to end this way. Linda had gifts, talents, potential. She could have built her own empire. She could have found her own love. She could have become someone incredible. But she spent so much time wanting to be Lillian
that she forgot to be Linda. And that cost her everything. What will you choose? So I'm asking you right now, who are you being? Are you being yourself, flawed, imperfect, but authentically you? Or are you trying to be someone else? Are you building your own dream, or are you destroying yourself, chasing someone else's? Are you watering your own garden, or are you so busy staring at your neighbor's that yours is dried up? Drop a comment below and tell me.